Hi, I'm Professor Larry Louie, and this is a presentation on presentations, specifically skills in how to prepare and deliver effective and persuasive presentations. We call this perfect pitch because there are many instances where we are in business and we're asked to do a pitch. It can be formal, like an investment presentation, or it could be quite informal at, say, a networking event. So here we're going to look at some tools to use in order to be most effective as we can in making presentations or pitches. So first we'll start with an introduction, followed by lesson 1, which is game plan your pitch, lesson 2, which is designing the presentation, lesson 3 is creating the slides themselves, and lesson 4 is deliver and persuade. So my name, in case you don't know me, is Larry Louie, and my industry experience is I spent several years at KPMG on audit and their small business advisory practice, then a few years, 3 years at Bain & Company in strategy consulting, and finally over 20 years with commercial entities as private companies, some high growth and some in commercial real estate and software. My teaching began at University of San Francisco, and now I'm at Hult International Business School. And the topics I teach are accounting, finance, and entrepreneurship. My background academically is UC Berkeley with a bachelor's in accounting and finance, and then an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business. AC Ross is a colleague of mine, old friend and colleague actually from my Bain days. And his background is strategy consultant, executive coach, startup executive, entrepreneur, intrapreneur, venture capitalist. He also has experience teaching at Hult and at USF and at San Francisco State University. His background prior to that was with the US Army, and he has 3 degrees from MIT. He has a bachelor's degree in engineering and 2 master's degrees in engineering and business. The reason that I mention AC is both of us ascribe to what you see before you, a bicycle. Well, we're not really bicyclists, but we do realize that it is the perfect analogy for building your presentation skills. When you first learned how to ride a bike, you probably fell a few times and it was very awkward. And over time, you learn how to do it. And now it's like you've always been a bike rider. And that's what we want you to convey, is that presentation skills are something you can develop. Regardless of where you are at this moment, you can improve. And it's like riding a bike. You just practice and you get better and better. And just to be case in point, the two of us were horrible presenters. We both joined as brand new consultants with Bain & Company, and we got trained. They had people there that were special in training oral presentations. And when then we practice and practice, I can honestly say for about 40 years, I've been practicing this. And there is no perfection. There's only improvement. And hopefully we'll go from what you see on the left, this guy that can't even ride on a mountain bike, to the two on the right on EF's Tour de France team, right? Well, maybe not quite. So the first thought is, are we presenting or are we persuading? So a lot of people say, let's do a presentation. But in a way, that's not quite the right word to use. The real word is persuade, because we're not communicating so the other person understands what we're saying because we're clear. We're communicating with the purpose of persuading. And that's true in a pitch, and that's true in an investment presentation. And so the goal is not just to present, but to hold ourselves to a higher and more important standard, and that is persuasion. This is a photo of what's called a demo day at Y Combinator, which is an incubator. And this person is presenting a business idea and a business plan to a group of angel investors, interested observers, and I guess her classmates in the cohort that entered with her group. And however, this investment pitch is only one of 5 pitch scenarios, and I'd like to go through those 5 with you and then start building on how do we prepare to have a persuasive and effective pitch. The Perfect Pitch is the name of an upcoming book written by AC Ross. And the idea of a perfect pitch is it's a presentation, in quotes, because it may not feel like a presentation. It may seem like conversation. That could be of any length to any audience of any size that compels the audience to respond in a way that you want it to. And if you have such a generalized and broad view of what a pitch is, you can see that most of our interactions, particularly if you are an entrepreneur, are pitches, whether we're pitching for an investor or to get a new customer or to convince a supplier to sell to us or to hire a team to help you start your business. So we're constantly pitching even though we don't want the pressure of that word, it is in fact what we're doing. The 5 scenarios that we want to cover right now are, and think of yourself as a Swiss Army knife, and there's a high concept pitch, there's a tagline, there's a bar pitch, there's the elevator pitch, and there's an investment presentation. And we'll go through very briefly the 5 until we focus in on the main purpose of this, which is an investment pitch. High concept pitch, for example, would be Yammer. Yammer might describe themselves and have as Yammer is the free private social network for your company. Okay, that's descriptive. But what if we did something very simplified, like Yammer is the Facebook for companies? So they're cheating a bit, right? Because they're drawing on what one word, Facebook, means to us. And Facebook is this idea of social networking among peers, and that's what Yammer is. However, it's inside of a company. So they could describe it in more words, like the free private social network for your company, or a very quick way to have people visualize it would be Facebook for companies. Okay, I understand what Yammer is. Next is a tagline. You're probably familiar with these lines, like Apple Computer, the computer for the rest of us. That's when they were positioning themselves against IBM in the IBM PC, and Apple was coming out as a more user-friendly computer that is for everyone. And they still have generally that positioning on all their technology products, which have a lot of high technology and sophistication to them. But their technology products are designed for everyone to use, not just people that are technology savvy experts. The next tagline is the ultimate driving machine. So BMW captured in those 4 words the essence of BMW. It's a machine, it's not just transportation. And it's driving, it's not just going from point A to point B, it's the experience of driving. And it's not just the experience of driving, it's the ultimate experience of driving. And so these words are very well crafted and very representative of the experience and the positioning of BMW. The third scenario is a bar pitch. You're at a networking event, or you're just out there having a little social time for yourself. Here's a template for how you would construct a simple bar pitch, because what does someone ask you when they first walk up to you? At least Americans, maybe not always in all parts of the world, but the most common question as you walk up and meet someone, oh, what do you do? And so when they say, well, what do you do? You want to have an easy, natural response that essentially starts your pitch. And the simple template here is we do something specific for or to a specific title so that blank, they receive some benefit. So if you could say this in one word, it would capture what does your company do, or what do you do as a profession. An example for AC is we develop and implement marketing strategies for client CEOs who want to grow their businesses by selling to more profitable customers. Oh, okay. So notice on the right that that's an actual depiction of what AC's business is, but he used his template on the left and just framed how we would describe Indigo Partners to someone who has never heard of Indigo Partners or AC Ross. The fourth scenario is the elevator pitch. And this is a very common phrase to say. You have the undivided attention of someone you're trying to convince. And the elevator ride will last 30, 60, maybe 90 seconds. So an elevator pitch is meant to be more than a sentence, but definitely not a long, drawn-out description. It's a succinct description of your business. Here is a 3-sentence elevator pitch, again, depending on how fast the elevator is, right? So the first sentence is what we are and the benefits we deliver, who needs us, and for one of these reasons. So let's try that out on the right. We are an enterprise software startup that doubles the percentage of leads converted to customers for marketing executive at B2B financial service firms who want to increase their current website sales effectiveness. All right, so that's one sentence, a long one, granted, but a sentence describing what is the nature of the business that you're representing. The second sentence is how we do that, why it's better, and why this is good. So let's try this one out. Global customers like Megacorp use artificial intelligence-based software to steer site visitors to meet the most pertinent pages in real time so that they get the best answers to the critical questions faster and more likely to buy, right? So that's the, in a sense, the value proposition given to the clients of this company. The third sentence is get the meeting. Can we schedule a meeting to talk about how we can increase your sales in less than 30 minutes? tomorrow morning? So that's what we call the ask. So this is an example of an elevator pitch, somewhat stilted and artificial, granted, but it shows that in 3 sentences you can convey who's the company that you're best suited to work with, and why would they want to use you? What do you do that is distinctive and valuable? And finally, to try to induce, oh, I'd like to hear more about your product and your company, right? That's the objective of this elevator pitch. The fifth is the investment presentation. Here, it has the formality of people paying attention, so better be ready. And it also has a timer because there's often a time limit that is sometimes artificial. It's a common trick to say, oh, I only have 20 minutes, when in fact, they only have 20 minutes if it's not going well. It could go an hour if it does go well. Or inside the 20 minutes, if they're losing interest, they mean, oh, I forgot a meeting I had. I need to leave, and can we catch up on another time by phone, perhaps? Right? That's a bad news event, right? They cut it short for some creative reason, let's say. But here we're going to move at the fifth scenario for the balance of this talk, because we're preparing a formal presentation with slides and with certain objectives in mind.